There's a city in America where the official population is 6. And one of them's a goat, still on Google Maps, still technically alive, but if Uncle Sam had a delete key, gone yesterday. Let's be real, America loves building cities, but it also loves abandoning them when things get inconvenient, too toxic, too poor, too black, too real. This isn't the postcard version. This is the part of the country it quietly pretends never existed. Today, we're exposing 10 cities that didn't just fall through the cracks, they were pushed. One poisoned by its own success. One renamed itself after a radio contest. And one still on fire, underground. You're not supposed to know this. By the end, you'll never look at a map the same way again. Wait till you see the town where ghost tours are more profitable than residents. Think you know American cities? Bet. Like the video if you've ever driven through a place and thought, this shouldn't exist. Subscribe if you want to survive your next road trip. Let's break it down. Number 10. Utqiaġvik. There's a town in America where the sun disappears for 65 straight days, and the locals just go to work like nothing happened. Yeah, welcome to Utqiaġvik, the place a fortune teller might describe as technically part of the US, emotionally part of another planet. Utqiaġvik carries this mythic reputation: rugged Arctic frontier, noble isolation, a place where everyone owns a parka rated for Mars. But then, surprisingly, you look at the data. Average home price, approximately $320,000. Average rent, approximately $1,800 for something roughly the size of a storage unit. Gallon of milk, $10 to $18 depending on how dramatic the supply chain feels that week. Violent crime rate, around 2 times the national average. Flights out, expensive enough to qualify as a personality test. A local on Reddit summed it up with brutal poetry. Imagine living on the moon, but colder, and DoorDash still doesn't deliver. What nobody tells you is, this place isn't hard because it's remote. It's hard because America treats it like an afterthought it forgot to unfavor it. Jobs are limited. Import costs are absurd. Infrastructure ages in dog years. And the climate? It's not winter. It's an annual hostage situation with wind chill. Yet, here's the twist, the community itself is strong, deeply rooted, culturally rich. Utqiaġvik is one of the oldest continuously inhabited places in North America. People don't endure it, they belong to it. Emotionally, financially, spiritually, living here is a tax bracket all its own. Groceries can wreck your budget. Darkness can wreck your mood. And the cold? The cold doesn't bite. It negotiates hostage terms. Look, I love adventure, but when the weather forecast says feels like minus 57 degrees, that's not a temperature, that's a cry for help. You can't even argue with it. Your face freezes mid-sentence. And don't get me started on the wind. Wind that hits you so hard it feels like the sky is trying to repossess your skeleton. I respect the locals, I fear the climate, and I judge the person who thought, yeah, this seems like a place to build a strip mall. And if you think Utqiaġvik is intense, wait till you meet the town America accidentally turned into a real-life caution sign. Number 9. Centralia. In 1962, someone lit a fire in a landfill to clean up trash. That fire slipped into an abandoned coal seam underground and never stopped burning. Today, the town is mostly gone, but the fire's still there. It's been 63 years. Real headline: underground fire in Centralia, PA could burn for another 250 years. Translation? This place is basically a slow-motion volcano with property taxes. On paper, Centralia used to be a thriving coal town. Churches, diners, a highway with more traffic than cracks. But when you're sitting on top of millions of tons of flammable rock and someone plays matchmaker, let's just say hot market takes on a new meaning. You'd think someone would put out the fire, right? They tried. Once. Kind of. And then, in a move straight from the oops playbook, the government basically walked away and said, Here's a check. Please leave quietly. Let's hit a few stats. Pre-fire population, 1960, approximately 1,400. Current population, 5. Yes, 5. Not 1,000, just 5. Air quality, 0 stars. Carbon dioxide vents everywhere. Average home value, technically 0 because technically the homes were seized by eminent domain. Tourism appeal, surprisingly high. If you're into steam vents, sinkholes, and vibe-based haunting. And the kicker? The town got its zip code revoked. The zip code. That's when a place officially becomes a myth. You can't really live in Centralia. There's no mail, no services, the roads are disintegrating. But a few residents fought the eviction and won the right to stay until they die. That's not poetic, that's a legal clause. Centralia's the only place where your neighbor isn't loud. He's a vent in the sidewalk, hissing like Satan's tea kettle. Okay, rant time. You ever visit a place and the earth itself seems mad you're there? That's Centralia. You're just trying to walk and suddenly the ground breathes at you. Steam shoots up through cracks in the street like the town's trying to whistle you off the property. And yet, tourists keep tagging it on Instagram like it's a goth Disneyland. What are we doing? Be honest. Would you spend a night in Centralia with no phone for $1,000? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments. And no cheating. You have to bring your own snacks. The gas station's 20 miles away. Number 8. Cairo. There's a town at the bottom of Illinois where two massive rivers meet, the Mississippi and the Ohio, forming a crossroads that should have made Cairo rich. Instead, it looks like a set from The Last of Us, but with better parking. Cairo should have been a powerhouse. In the 1900s, it was a booming river town. Steamboats, factories, jazz clubs, mansions. Think Midwest New Orleans, minus the beads and plus a lot more Bible quotes. But then came segregation, riots, economic sabotage, white flight. And what you get today is a town that feels like the country left it on red. Let's hit the numbers. Population decline since 1960, down 80%. Median household income, approximately $25,000. Half the national average. Crime rate, higher than 93% of US cities. Job market, basically extinct. Abandoned properties, so many even Google Street View gave up. And then there's HUD, which literally shut down every public housing project in Cairo in 2017. Translation? Hey, we failed you. Now please relocate yourselves. Imagine the government showing up to evict you from your already condemned apartment and saying, don't worry, we're not displacing you, we're just unhousing you. Emotionally, it's like watching your hometown be slowly erased with a broken eraser. Financially, there are homes listed for under $10,000, but try getting a loan, or a grocery store, or a pharmacy, or a mayor who hasn't considered just turning it into a haunted history park. You ever visit a place and realize even the GPS feels uncomfortable? I typed in Cairo and my phone literally said, "Are you sure?" There's a street where the stop sign is nailed to a tree, the tree's dead, and the sign's still more functional than the town council. I saw a squirrel blink twice like it was trying to send a distress signal. This isn't just about Cairo. It's about what happens when a country decides a town is no longer useful. Not broken, not dangerous, just inconvenient. And unlike Centralia, this town didn't need fire to disappear, just policy, poverty, and decades of silence. Would you move to a place where homes cost less than a used iPhone? If it came with a catch? Yes? No? Only if ghosts pay rent? Drop your answer in the comments. Number 7. Picher. At one point, Picher, Oklahoma was cranking out 50% of America's lead and zinc. Today, it's a federal Superfund site where the trees are dead, the houses are gone, and the dirt can kill you. It's not a ghost town, it's a hazmat memory. Picher wasn't always a cautionary tale. Back in the early 1900s, it was a full-blown mining gold rush. Minus the gold. Schools, shops, baseball games, Norman Rockwell with hard hats. But under the surface, literally, were miles of tunnels, tailings, and toxic dreams. The collapse you couldn't see until you could. Let's break it down. Lead contamination levels, 10 times the EPA limit in kids. Sinkholes everywhere. Streets, yards, the town football field. Federal buyout. Began in 2006. Crime rate, technically low, because nobody's left to commit crime. Population in 2023, 0. Technically, a few people refuse to leave. Quote from a former resident on Reddit. My grandma said it was like living on a ticking time bomb. And then one day, boom, the backyard disappeared. Imagine living somewhere so toxic, FEMA shows up before Amazon does. When the federal government tells you to leave because the ground might swallow you and the air might poison your kids, you pack. But not everyone did. A few stayed. Some still do. There are trailers on the edge of town. No services, no police. Just leftover ghosts and mining waste that's now part of the landscape. And the kicker? That mountain of chat outside town? Still used in construction materials across the Midwest. So if your driveway glows at night, now you know. Okay, look, I get nostalgia, but at some point, if your house is sinking and the soil makes Geiger counters blush, it might be time to let go. This isn't loyalty, it's a dirt-based death wish. And don't get me started on the school system. Imagine doing a fire drill, tornado drill, and lead exposure protocol before lunch. Picture it. You walk outside, the sky is blue, the air smells sharp, like batteries and regret. A breeze kicks up and the snow on the hills isn't snow, it's fine mining dust. You cough and a chat truck drives by like nothing's wrong. Congratulations, you just moved to the set of a post-apocalyptic movie, but you're not the star. The land is. In Picher, you can't drink the water or trust the ground. In Carmel, Indiana, you can leave your bike unlocked next to a $6 latte and nobody blinks. Same country, different universes. If you thought this town was dangerous, the next one was once a symbol of black prosperity, until power decided it shouldn't exist anymore. And what happened there? You won't find in most textbooks. Number 6. Sandtown-Winchester. In 2015, Freddie Gray got into a police van in West Baltimore. He didn't come out alive. And the world finally looked at Sandtown-Winchester for 5 minutes before flipping the channel. But here's the truth. This neighborhood didn't just explode overnight. It was buried alive, one policy at a time. Sandtown-Winchester. Sounds elegant, right? Like a place with historic brick homes and overpriced farmers markets. Except it's where decades of redlining, failed redevelopment, and systemic neglect collided like a slow-motion car crash. This wasn't just a poor neighborhood, it was a planned outcome. The numbers they don't print on postcards. Unemployment rate, around 20% in recent years, double the city average. Poverty rate, over 30%. Median household income, approximately $25,000. Life expectancy gap, up to 20 years less than in wealthier parts of Baltimore. Public school quality, often rated among the lowest in the state. The zip code didn't change. The country just decided it didn't count. You know things are bad when gentrification skips your block on purpose. Every city has that one neighborhood politicians only remember during election season. In Baltimore, it's Sandtown. One minute, it's the backdrop for a campaign speech. Next minute, vanished. I mean, how do you have streetlights that flicker like a horror movie trailer but still manage to hand out parking tickets like candy? In some Baltimore neighborhoods, you get a bike lane and a brunch spot. In Sandtown, you get trauma and a liquor store. Same city, different planets. The thing about Sandtown is, people didn't give up. They were boxed in, and some still fight to rewrite the ending, even when the world won't watch. Number 5. Truth or Consequences. In 1950, a small town in New Mexico made a bet with a game show. Change your name to Truth or Consequences and we'll broadcast live from your city. They said yes. And for a minute, they were famous. 70 years later, they're stuck with a punchline for a name. No consequences, and not a lot of truth either. Truth or Consequences, or T or C as the locals call it, because no one wants to say the full name out loud in public, is technically a spa town. Hot springs, desert sunsets, UFO tourism on the weekends. It should be quirky cool. Think Marfa with steam rooms. The cost of quirky without the capital. Let's go from gimmick to grit. Population, approximately 5,800 and declining. Median home price, approximately $130,000. Median income, approximately $27,000. Poverty rate, over 30%. Job market, nearly non-existent, unless you're into gas station shifts, or maybe alien-themed retail. You know your tourism pitch is weak when the name of your town takes takes longer to say than your list of attractions. People moved here for healing, retirees came for warmth, but what do you get now? Spotty infrastructure, a couple of aging spas, and a reputation that lands somewhere between eccentric and accident. And then there's Spaceport America, built nearby to boost the economy. Spoiler, it did not. Turns out billionaires don't stick around after launch. Whoever named this place had guts, but naming your town after a game show is like tattooing your ex's name on your neck. Bold move, questionable ROI, and now they're stuck with it. Imagine giving directions like, yeah, take a left at Truth and a hard right into Consequences. Feels like a metaphysical trap. In New Mexico, Los Alamos helped build the atomic bomb. Truth or Consequences just built a brand. That backfired. One got global power, the other got seasonal tourism and an awkward zip code. Would you move to a town named after a game show if rent was $300 and the sunsets were elite? Yes? No? Only if I can rename it back? Comment below and name your ideal rebrand while you're at it. Number 4. Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana. The city built by steel, broken by steel, and now haunted by the memory of steel. A place that once produced more jobs than it had people, and now has more abandoned houses than it has functioning streetlights. If American Decline had a showroom model, Gary would be on the cover. Gary didn't start as a punchline, it was a powerhouse. A planned city built in 1906 by US Steel. Workers came from everywhere, immigrant neighborhoods, jazz clubs, a young Michael Jackson practicing moonwalk prototypes on the sidewalk. This was industrial royalty. Then came automation, outsourcing, and every corporate breakup letter in the book. Steel jobs vanished. People followed. A few numbers to draw the outline. Violent crime rate, around 4 times the national average. Median home value, approximately $50,000, and that's generous. Median household income, approximately $32,000. Poverty rate, 35% plus. Vacancy rate, among the highest in the country. A Reddit user put it perfectly. Gary feels like a city doing cosplay as the apocalypse. You know it's rough when the abandoned buildings have abandonment issues. Emotionally, living in Gary feels like you're walking through a photo album that somebody spilled water on. Financially, it's cheap, until you remember cheap doesn't cover police response times, good schools, job access, or basic infrastructure. Some blocks look frozen in time. Others look like nature started a hostile takeover and won. Here's the thing about Gary. The potholes are so aggressive they feel personal. You don't drive around them, you negotiate with them. Every turn is a gamble, every street is a survival tactic. And the streetlights? Half of them haven't worked since the Bush administration. It's the only place where Google Maps should come with a seatbelt. One lifelong resident told a reporter, "We don't rebuild fast, we out-survive things." And honestly, that might be the truest thing about Gary. Imagine a world where housing is cheap, neighbors look out for each other, and community pride refuses to die. Now overlay that vision with limited jobs, crumbling infrastructure, and the toughest economic headwinds imaginable. That's Gary, a place where resilience is real, but resources aren't. But if Gary shows what happens when an industry disappears, the next city shows what happens when a whole identity disappears, by choice and with consequences nobody saw coming. Number 3. Blackdom. In the early 1900s, a group of African-American homesteaders set out to build something radical. Not a protest, not a march, a town. A free, self-sustaining, all-black town in the middle of New Mexico desert. They called it Blackdom, and for a brief, shining moment, it worked. Until America remembered it doesn't reward dreams like that. Blackdom wasn't born out of desperation. It was built out of intention. Founded in 1903 by Frank Boyer and other formerly enslaved descendants, it was meant to be a safe haven, a utopia. Families moved in, they built homes, schools, churches, they irrigated the land, ran businesses, published a newspaper. You won't find Blackdom in most history books. That's not an accident. Land deeds mysteriously disappeared, wells dried up after federal drilling and weren't fixed. Nearby white ranchers gained water access, Blackdom didn't. Post office shut down in 1919, town was declared unviable, no official marker until 2005. A town doesn't just vanish, it gets erased. Policy by policy, lie by lie. Reddit? Mostly silent. But one historian wrote, Blackdom wasn't a failure. it was abandoned by the systems that promised to support it. Imagine pouring your life into building a town, and the government responds like, "That's cute, now delete it." You ever notice how some towns get 10 historical plaques for one cannon, but Blackdom? No marker, no museum, not even a roadside sign that says, "Hey, something powerful happened here." America loves freedom, just not when black folks try to build their own version of it. Imagine waking up to sun over endless plains. You're growing your own food, building your own school, writing your own laws. There's no mayor to impress, no system to fear, just possibility. Then picture that dream fading, not because you failed, but because someone else decided you weren't supposed to succeed. Number 2. Tonopah. Okay, real quick, what do you get when you cross a Wild West mining town, a haunted motel, a military bomb range, and 1,000 square miles of empty nothingness? Answer: Tonopah, Nevada, where the ghosts might not be the scariest thing around. Tonopah used to be the silver capital of Nevada. Boomtown energy, cowboys with gold teeth, brothels on every corner. Fast forward 100 years, and now it's mostly dust bomb tests, and a motel where the "Do Not Disturb" sign might just mean there's a ghost in room 19. You know a town's struggling when one of the top-rated attractions is a clown motel next to a graveyard. Not a joke, look it up. Tonopah has a violent crime rate 77% higher than the national average, a poverty rate of 25.6%, almost double the US median. Median rent? $700, but that's if you can find anything besides RV hookups or haunted suites. Oh, and the nearest Target? 160 miles away. The economy? Mostly supported by the Tonopah Test Range, aka where the government definitely isn't hiding alien spacecraft. Allegedly. Tonopah's got that perfect blend of nuclear ghost town meets TripAdvisor oddity. It's like if Fallout 4 had a souvenir shop. You ever try ordering DoorDash and the nearest driver is a 6-hour round trip away? Yeah, welcome to Tonopah. You better love canned beans and gas station burritos, because unless you brought it, it's not coming. Also, don't try Amazon same day unless you're immortal. Picture it. You step out at night, silence, stars, a moon so bright it lights up the mountains. The air, crisp. You take a deep breath, and then a distant boom reminds you the Air Force is playing with explosives again. Charming. And just when you think it couldn't get weirder, Tonopah hosts an annual testicle festival. Yeah, I said it. Moving on. At least in Centralia, the fire's under the ground. In Tonopah, it's probably coming from a classified hangar. Number 1. New Orleans. New Orleans is the only city in America that can drown, burn, flood, rebuild, party, collapse, rise again, and still make you feel like you're the one who needs to get your life together. But underneath the beads and brass bands is a truth most people tap dance around. Post-Katrina, New Orleans never got the comeback it was promised. It got a brand reboot, a tourism glow-up, and a whole lot of people quietly pushed out of the frame. Ask anyone outside Louisiana what New Orleans is, and they'll chant the greatest hits: Mardi Gras, gumbo, jazz, ghost tours, hurricanes, both the drinks and the storms. But that's the brochure version. The real New Orleans, a city held together by culture, trauma, duct tape, and God-tier resilience. What actually happened after the water fell? Let's pull the curtain. Population shift. The black population dropped by more than 100,000. Median rent up nearly 40% since Katrina. Crime rate among the highest in the US. Median household income approximately $44,000, far below the national average. Child poverty approximately 30%. Insurance plus flood risk, a sentence that should come with a therapist. And somehow, the city rebuilt every bar on Bourbon Street before half the neighborhoods with actual people in them. What a coincidence. For locals, the cost isn't just financial, it's emotional. Gentrification didn't roll in quietly, it marched in with craft cocktails and rent spikes. Whole blocks that once held multi-generational families now look like Airbnbs with personality disorders. New Orleans driving, absolute madness. The potholes aren't potholes, they're portals. You hit one wrong and suddenly you're in 1997. And don't get me started on flood alerts. This is the only city where it can rain for 5 minutes and the whole street goes, "Aye, pack your bags." Like the video because it took me 20 minutes just to pronounce Tchoupitoulas without crying. Subscribe so you don't accidentally move somewhere with a sinkhole named after your HOA.